Mia, and she introduced herself to the jury here by saying that Sean Combs had sexually assaulted her.
She testified that she was a rape victim.
The first time she met Combs, she said he was in his underwear.
What happens when the law turns a blind eye? That chilling question haunts the courtroom after Mia's powerful testimony. Her account doesn't just accuse Diddy of horrific acts. It suggests he may have had influence over the LAPD itself. But could the very power he once wielded be the thing that finally brings him down? Let's unpack the case that's sending shockwaves through Hollywood.
I have no idea how it's possible, and I'm sure Mia is probably panicking in this moment in time. Like, are people stalking her on the internet, trying to figure out her identity? She testified that she was a rape victim, essentially. There's rape shield laws that exist to try to protect people in her position. And so this is really getting very nerve-wracking probably for her, and just absurd for the court.
Yeah, the testimony today was from a woman who was testifying as under the name Mia. The judge said this is a pseudonym and that no one was to record her. She was, they wanted to keep her anonymity. It was the deal with the prosecution. But she was talking about, she is a former assistant of Diddy's, and talked about a 2010 incident where Diddy and Cassie found out that Prince was having this private house party. Diddy didn't want to go. He was staying home and said that Cassie should not go. But Cassie was at home with Mia, and they talked about it and decided they were going to go. So they went to the party. She said they were having a great time watching Prince perform on a dining room table. And then suddenly she saw Diddy walk in and was terrified. And she grabbed Cassie and said they ran out of the party. They ran across the street. They are hiding in a wooded area behind some bushes. But Diddy found them and grabbed Cassie, she said, and started to assault her when suddenly one of Prince's security guards ran over there and had to pull Diddy off of Cassie, separate them. And that was the end of the violence for that particular evening. But the way she described it on the stand, it really sounded like the movie playing out. And you could really envision what was happening that night in 2000.
When Mia first entered Diddy's inner circle, it felt like stepping into a dream. Dazzling lights, booming music, and access to the most powerful names in entertainment. For a young, ambitious woman eager to make her mark, landing a job as Diddy's assistant seemed like the ultimate golden ticket. Diddy wasn't just a superstar. He was a cultural titan, a mogul who turned everything he touched into gold. Mia wasn't just drawn to the opportunity. She was drawn to him, to the charisma, the influence, the myth of success he seemed to embody. But the illusion didn't last. What started as excitement quickly turned to anxiety. The demands were constant, the pressure unrelenting. Tasks never ended. Mistakes were unforgivable. Her phone had to stay on 24/7. Even her meals were scheduled around his needs. She began losing basic freedoms: when to eat, when to sleep, even who she could speak to. What had felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity slowly morphed into survival. Diddy's charm could vanish in an instant. One moment he was magnetic, the next, merciless. Mia recalled him berating an assistant for failing to anticipate his needs before he voiced them. His mood didn't just affect individuals. It cast a shadow over entire rooms. If he was happy, people breathed. If he wasn't, they held their breath. But it wasn't just the workload or the emotional whiplash. It was control. Quiet, calculated, and constant. According to Mia, he monitored his employees obsessively. Where they went, who they spoke to, what they wore, even what they posted online. What began as professional oversight became personal intrusion. The boundaries blurred. Then came the night she would later describe as the moment everything changed. Diddy insisted she attend a private event, despite her saying she had other obligations. He didn't yell. He didn't have to. One look told her, resistance was not an option. She went. Nothing overt happened that evening, but something inside her shifted. For the first time, she saw the full weight of his control, not just as a boss, but as a force that demanded total compliance. What began as ambition was now beginning to feel like captivity. And as Mia would later reveal, this night was just the beginning of a far darker journey.
I don't think so. I think that would be like the best appeal point ever on the side of the defense. I think the case gets overturned because you're violating the confrontation clause. You know, you're taking away Diddy's right to confront his accuser, especially because she's already given all of the testimony that was apparently positive for the prosecution, and then cutting her off before even one question could be asked by the, or maybe not one, but you know, the full cross-examination be completed. I think it gets overturned.
What do you think the judge is going to do here? I mean, do you think the judge is first of all, can the judge order an investigation into this? And also, Tyler, do you think the judge is going to allow this piece of evidence in? If we're reading this correctly through the transcript, that this is a situation where she might be faking the way she's speaking on the stand. Feels like relevant evidence for cross-examination, but at the same time, the way they're getting it and the issue of her identity being revealed, A, can the judge order some sort of investigation here? And B, you think he's going to allow this video in?
Well, it's probably 3 o'clock right now, or close to 2 o'clock. If I was the judge, which I'm not, I think this would be a good time to see what this video looks like. Let's see what the testimony would be given, what examination question will be asked by defense. Just break for the day, and he'll make his ruling and start on Monday fresh, whether this video is going to be allowed in or not allowed. I think that would be a good way for the court to explore, you know, the potential pitfalls here, see how the defense is going to authenticate this video. Now, regarding any additional protections for Mia, I think that the court and parties involved in this case have appeared to do everything possible to protect her identity. The fact of the matter is, this is a high-profile case. People are watching this all across the country. And if you were to think that she would be on the stand giving facts about pictures with Cassie and being in South Africa, that people weren't looking on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere else on social media to try to put two and two together, that's hard to believe. So I'm not shocked that people have identified her, because I'm pretty sure people are on their phones right now trying to look into it. Yeah, they're not going to allow the video in. They're saying that there's been substantial social media posts already admitted into evidence showing that Mia has been in communications and contact with Mr. Combs, and she said things like, "I love you, you're a mentor," and things of that nature. But it sounds like this video, defense believe this is going to be some strong evidence. I'm pretty sure they're going to want their objections noted for the record, so this could be issued on appeal if this is highly prejudicial for Mr. Combs' case.
Well, Serena, I mean, it seems like they're saying we're using it for a different purpose. We're not trying to suggest, hey, she's making up the story because look at, positive posts she's making about Sean Combs. But no, this video shows she's not talking the same affect that she is on the stand. So it seems, if I'm understanding correctly, they're trying to use this video for a different kind of impeachment.
I totally agree with you, and I think, not to assume too many things, but to me, this feels like the judge saying, you know what, I'm just going to say it's cumulative because we got to keep this trial going. We have Mia on the stand who's probably falling apart. I'm not going to want to bring her back on Monday. Finish her testimony, get her off the stand. Let's keep this trial moving at the right pace. And I do agree with you. I think that the judge is just making that decision to make that decision. I don't think it's actually cumulative.
You know, it's a great question. Just by the way, another update in court. Brian Steele, this is Sean Combs' defense counsel, one of them. Can I ask if she sent it? Can I ask if she sent it? The judge says yes. I'm going to ask about scrapbooks. The prosecutor and I have a disagreement. I have 3 copies, one for the jurors to pass around. The honorable prosecutor and I disagree. So it looks like a separate question. Here's a great question from Michelle LaBelle. Tyler, how does the public know how she's acting in court, which is different than usual if they're not allowed in court? So that makes me think now, the only people to know how she's actually testifying and the way that she's speaking are those who are in the courtroom. Now, I'm not making any conspiracy theories here, but that's a good question, right? Why would this video be circulating? Unless of course, someone found out her identity from the outside, just was circulating the video, and defense counsel said, wait a minute. The way she's talking in this video is very different than the way she's talking on the stand. Or the more ominous conspiracy theory is someone in the court who knew the way she was speaking start circulating the video online. I mean, I don't want to be engaging in conspiracy theories here, but it's a great question for Michelle LaBelle, no?
Yeah, it's a great question. But one thing that Mr. Combs' defense lawyer just said is, can I ask her if she sent it? Now, if they're referencing the video and he wants to ask her if she sent it, they must know who she sent the video.
The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as Mia took the stand. Her voice was calm, composed, but beneath it was the unmistakable weight of someone carrying deep, unresolved pain. She began recounting a night from years ago, a moment that would forever change her. At the time, she was working as Diddy's assistant, already accustomed to the strange demands and unpredictable hours. But this night felt different. Diddy had summoned her to his private residence, late. That wasn't unusual, but the tone, the urgency, the silence behind the words, it set her on edge. She said everything about the request made it clear. She couldn't say no. That night, Mia testified, "Diddy raped me." Her words hit like a thunderclap. No theatrics, just truth, stripped bare. She described the lead-up to the assault and haunting. Detail of the isolation, the tension, the sense that refusal wasn't an option. She painted a picture of unspoken threats, a look, a shift in his tone, the kind of silence that shouted louder than words ever could. The courtroom hung on every syllable as she brought them into that night. The dim lighting in the hall, the sound of her own footsteps echoing as she walked inside, the way her body locked when his demeanor suddenly shifted. She said she froze, physically, mentally, willing herself to believe it wasn't happening, even as it did. Mia explained how working for someone with Diddy's influence created a reality where survival often meant compliance. His approval, she said, felt like everything. Disobedience? That was dangerous, not just professionally, but personally. Experts often describe such reactions as disassociation, the mind's way of coping by disconnecting from trauma in real time. Mia's testimony reflected that. Her voice trembled only slightly as she recalled tears she hadn't even realized were falling during the attack. She wasn't just afraid of him, she was afraid of the power he held, not just in that room, but everywhere. The room was still. A few courtroom spectators turned away, visibly shaken. Others stared ahead, frozen by the brutal clarity of her story. And Diddy? All eyes eventually landed on him. He kept his gaze down, fixed on the table in front of him. One reporter later described his expression as a mix of impassivity and discomfort, a man refusing to look at the truth staring him down from the witness stand. This wasn't the first time Diddy had faced such allegations. But Mia's account didn't feel like an isolated incident. It hinted at something bigger, a pattern of control, coercion, and unchecked power that had gone unchallenged for years. And Mia's story wasn't over, because as the court was about to learn, she wasn't just a victim. She was also a witness to what happened to others.
Only that, it was a overlap of testimony regarding trying to intervene when Sean Combs allegedly was attacking Cassie. One of the few times we've ever heard anybody do that, but Mia tried to step in, he tried to step in, he mentioned Mia. Serena, we got a question here from Green Yoshi once again. Is there another color Yoshi? I got to play Super Mario 3, I don't remember. All right, what is being done to protect the jury in terms of their identities post-trial?
That's a great question. You know, a jury is, the people who are on this case might be nervous about something like that. Obviously, they were very well vetted. Questions were asked of them, and somehow they ended up on this jury as unbiased and willing participants, I guess. But there is always that fear that they're going to be found out. Sometimes people take advantage of that. They like to write about it, or they like to give interviews, but you don't have to. And it is a nerve-wracking thing if people find out who you are and you've been on this trial, because sometimes people are very upset at the eventual verdict.
One more question I'm going to throw to you, Tyler. This is from Enlin DK once again. If they're saying she's faking, meaning Mia, couldn't the same be said about Diddy? Where's the bling and ego?
Well, bling is not on him. He's now a resident of a detention facility while he's pending trial. He hasn't taken a stand yet either, put himself out there. Remind people that he is presumed innocent until he's found guilty by a jury. He does not have to present any evidence. It's up to the prosecution's job to present their case and get these criminal charges proved beyond a reasonable doubt. So if he does get on the stand, yes, they could say that Mr. Combs is acting. Now, there could be you could insinuate that the clothes that he's wearing, that people have described, they look somewhat like Bill Cosby as Mr. Huxtable, right, in the Cosby Show, versus the mere Sean Puffy Combs that people are used to. I can see that, but he's not on the stand here. He's sitting at the table as a defendant, trying to talk to his counsel about how they can discredit any witness that gets to the stand for the prosecution.
So, quick update from court. Judge, you can give it to them. Judge says you can give it to them for a couple minutes. Bring Mia back in. Then the jury. The witness enters. Jury enters. Okay, Combs. Brian Steele asks, "What is the Breakfast Club?" Mia says, "The name of our camp, Pup's friend group, still partying at breakfast. I was invited in once."
They said random people earlier. They may not be trying to show their whole hand here. Mr. Combs knows Mia clearly, so he knows how she acted when she was with him versus how she's acting now. The defense has offices, and they have associates and other people who are on the outside who could be investigating, trying to collect evidence that can be used to help Mr. Combs in real time. Now, do I think somebody there is Plant, who's a reporter or something, helping the defense? No, but this is a high-profile case. She's testifying. To think that there aren't people on the outside who have interest in this case, whether as associates, employees of either side of this case, would be foolish.
Got a question from Laya. This is a question for you, Serena. Did Mia get exposed?
Yeah, it's possible. And again, it's very scary if so, because everyone's trying to protect this woman and she deserves that protection and privacy. But as we've been saying, it is still a somewhat public trial. There are going to be not only people in the courtroom, but online sleuths. I mean, even the court drawing, though her face is blurred out, we can tell her race, we can tell her hair color, we can tell her stature. And, there are probably going to be people, maybe not in Diddy's inner circle, but maybe even in the second or third degree circle, who know who this woman is. And so to think that she has complete anonymity in today's day and age with, online sleuthing and just the ability to find things out about people, it's just so easy today. So I do think that someone figured out who she was.
I'll get a question from Melissa Budas. This is for you, Tyler. Didn't the previous witness, the stylist, so Deontay Nash, confirm a lot of Mia's testimony?
Oh, he confirmed a lot of her testimony, and everybody at the prosecution is calling as witness. Their testimony is meant to build on each other. Think about the witnesses that led up to Kid Cudi testifying. Then you had Deontay Nash, who testified a couple days ago, and now Mia, who's testifying now. So the prosecution is not calling witnesses, and they're going to be surprised at what they say. We have an idea of what they're going to say, and they want to present this case methodically in the way they want. That's the whole point of planning.
Testimony didn't stop with her own trauma. She went further, revealing what she had witnessed others endure under Diddy's control. One moment in particular caused a chilling shift in the courtroom, an incident involving Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura. As Mia recounted the scene, the atmosphere grew heavier, each word adding weight. It was a private gathering at one of Diddy's homes, a seemingly ordinary night filled with low music, dim lights, and the usual flow of high-profile guests. But behind the glamour, something darker unfolded. According to Mia, Diddy and Cassie began to argue in front of a small group. The cause wasn't clear, but what was unmistakable was how quickly his tone turned aggressive. Within moments, the argument escalated. Then came what Mia described as a violent outburst. Diddy struck Cassie across the face with an open hand. The sound of the slap, she said, cut through the music and conversation like a gunshot. Cassie stumbled, back, clutching her face, visibly shaken. The room froze. No one moved. Not Mia. Not the entourage. No one dared intervene. The energy shifted instantly. Guests turned away, retreated into corners, avoiding eye contact, as if pretending it hadn't happened would make it go away. Mia said Cassie quietly wiped at her cheeks and walked into another room without saying a word. It was as if the entire group had silently agreed to bury the moment, to add it to the growing pile of secrets no one dared to speak aloud. For Mia, that night was a turning point, not just in understanding the power Diddy held, but in feeling the suffocating helplessness that came with it. She admitted feeling paralyzed, not just by fear, but by guilt. Guilt for witnessing abuse and doing nothing. Bystander trauma is a well-documented phenomenon. The emotional and psychological toll of watching violence without the power to stop it. Mia described it with haunting clarity, acknowledging how that moment, and the silence that followed, left scars of their own. She began to question everything: her role, her silence, the culture of control that governed every room Diddy entered. This part of her testimony gave her story even more weight. It wasn't just about her, it was about a pattern, a system, a man who ruled through dominance, secrecy, and fear. By speaking of what happened to Cassie, Mia wasn't just strengthening her own credibility, she was exposing a larger truth. This wasn't an isolated incident, not according to Mia, and the next part of her testimony would stretch beyond personal experience, pointing to a reach of power that extended far beyond his staff and inner circle, a reach that may have included the very institutions meant to hold him accountable.
Herself to the jury here by saying that Sean Combs had sexually assaulted her. She hasn't testified about it yet. Instead, she's talking about times she said she witnessed violence against Cassie Ventura, the time she said Combs slammed her head against a bed and drew blood and left a gash in Cassie Ventura's eyebrow, the time they attended a party against Combs's wishes at Prince's house when they danced on plexiglass covering the pool. Prince performed, but then Combs arrived, chased them down, and was about to attack Cassie when she said Prince's security intervened. She also, this woman Mia, gave the jury a sense of what it was like to be his personal assistant.
What I find more troubling and less likely is if these videos being sent by random people on the internet. Now, and that's what they want to proffer as evidence in this criminal trial. I find that hard to be admitted. If they can track the video from one person, confirm the identity of the person, then it can be used for impeachment evidence. That's different. But random people on the internet sending videos, that opens the door to a can of worms.
Well, I mean, Tyler, they would have to authenticate it, make sure it's real, and couldn't they theoretically be able to use it?
They could theoretically be able to use it, but it seems like they're trying to use it right now when Mia's going to get back on the stand. I haven't heard of any witness to authenticate this video yet. They're just talking about displaying this video. That's what seems to be a little odd to me.
The first time she met Combs, she said he was in his underwear. And then the first day on the job, she said she didn't sleep because she was made to go to his house, to his recording studio, to an apartment. She also said that she worked sometimes 5 days in a row without sleep and was made to do everything from anticipating his moves to cracking his knuckles to doing his taxes to standing there 22 hours a day doing nothing.
Mia's testimony took a chilling and unexpected turn when she made one of the most unsettling claims of the entire trial. Beyond the alleged abuse she endured and witnessed, Mia suggested something far more insidious: that Diddy's power extended into the very systems meant to hold him accountable, including law enforcement. She told the court that his wealth, status, and network of connections created a protective bubble around him. According to her, his name alone was enough to make problems vanish. The courtroom held its breath as she described how this influence didn't just protect his image, it allowed him to operate without fear. To back up her claim, Mia shared a specific and disturbing story. She recalled an incident at one of Diddy's properties. There had been loud shouting, distressing noises, enough for neighbors to call the police. When officers arrived, she said, they were calmly led inside. And then just as quickly, they left. No citations, no questions, no arrest. According to Mia, the police spoke briefly with Diddy behind closed doors and walked away as if nothing had happened. That moment stayed with her. It sent a clear message. The authorities weren't there to enforce justice. They were there to protect the man at the top. No one in his circle talked about it out loud, but everyone understood. Diddy was untouchable. She testified that he even once told staff, in a tone she initially thought was sarcastic, "The cops work for me, not the other way around." But over time, Mia realized it wasn't bravado. It was a warning. Legal experts watching the case noted the deeper implications. The idea of celebrities using their status to sway law enforcement isn't new. From old Hollywood cover-ups to modern-day settlements that bury allegations in silence, there's a long pattern of fame insulating the powerful. And if Mia's story is accurate, Diddy wasn't just part of that pattern. He perfected it. Her revelation reframed the courtroom's understanding of why she and others like her stayed silent for so long. Speaking out wasn't just terrifying, it was dangerous. The implications are staggering. If a man like Diddy could influence police responses with a conversation or a glance, what does that say about the system's ability to protect victims? How many other cases like Mia's were buried not because they lacked evidence, but because no one in power was willing to act? Her testimony wasn't just an accusation, it was an indictment of a culture that rewards power over principle, silence over justice. By the time Mia stepped down, one thing was undeniable. Her words had shaken more than just Diddy's defense. They pulled back the curtain on how celebrity, wealth, and unchecked influence can corrode the very systems designed to protect the vulnerable. As the courtroom prepared for its next witness, the air was heavy with a new kind of tension. Not just about what Diddy might have done, but about how many people may have helped him get away with it.